I sometimes hesitate to share deals like this because I never want to get into an argument with people on why one strategy is better than another. I think there's use cases for all strategies. But when I look at the numbers and what's possible on a very affordable property like this that I bought for $60,000 that's going to net over $4,000 a month in cash flow on a continuous basis going forward, I'm blown away. Like, I don't know where else that's possible. And it's on a very safe investment compared to what a lot of people are buying today, because I can always turn around and use this as a long-term rental if, you know, the sky starts falling or conditions change or interest rates go to 20% or whatever the scenario is. So I want to go through the specific details of this particular property because I think it's one thing to talk in generalities about what's possible theoretically, and I think it's another thing to be sitting in a property where this is actually happening today and to go through the actual and show you the actual specific numbers and how you can potentially do something similar. Last time I filmed the video in this exact location, I had the pungent aroma of cat feces filling my nostrils. And I was surrounded by empty Four Loko cans, which I thought was a banned substance at this point, but I guess they brought it back. And it was really just disgusting living conditions that the previous tenant was living in, and we had just bought the property that week. Now it looks slightly different. We rehabbed it from top to bottom, and this particular property is a 2-unit property. And if you follow what I teach, then you know I'm a huge fan of 2 to 4 unit properties or larger houses, like 4 to 5 bedroom houses that we use for Airbnb, the short-term rentals. If you watched my last video, which you can check out right here, on some not so common strategies to finance your rental property that don't require you to have a huge down payment, then you know that one of those strategies is borrowing a very affordable property. So a property that you can buy super cheap for the property that's going to require a very significant rehab. And there's a bunch of advantages to setting up a property or buying a property that fits in that category. So I definitely recommend checking out that video, but I think this is a perfect example of that type of property that falls into that category. After you watch this video, if you are interested in buying a similar type of vacation rental to this one, I put together a totally free masterclass that walks you through the steps of getting started. That's at livingoffrentals.com/start. That's livingoffrentals.com/start. I also have a link to my calendar there, so if you're interested in working with me personally on how to find, buy, and set up your first high cash flowing vacation rental, you can book a call with me and we can talk about your goals and whether it might make sense to work together on getting you a property that's very similar to this one. Now let's dive into the deal. All right, so first off, I want to go over what I bought this property for. I mentioned I bought it for $60,000. So you can see the closing statement here. I actually bought it last May. So I guess it was about 10 months ago, not 8 months ago. So I bought it for $60,000. You gotta love the state of Indiana. There's about $500 in closing costs, which is amazing. So I bought this using private money to fund the purchase and the full rehab. But if I had bought this using hard money, which I talked about in the previous video, then most likely I would have had to have brought 10% of the purchase price to the closing table. So that's, again, why I recommend buying these very affordable properties, because 10% of $60,000 is $6,000 that I would have had to brought to the closing table, and then the hard money lender most likely would have funded 100% of the rehab, which ended up costing me just over $100,000. It's about $110,000 for the rehab and furnishing of this property. So we bought it for $60,000, and then I immediately brought in my contractor, and over the next several months, we put about $110,000 into the rehab. And so I want to share with you the refinancing process. So after 6 months, you can buy a property really cheap, you can put a bunch of rehab into it, and then after 6 months seasoning is what most lenders require. Actually, Lima 1 is at 3 months, but most lenders are at 6 months. You can go back and you can refinance and pull all your cash out, all your initial investment of the purchase and rehab out, depending on what it appraises for. And so I wanted to share with you what that looks like. So we went to Lima 1. We shared that we wanted to do a cash out refinance. So they sent an appraiser out, and this is the appraisal report right here. So if we scroll down to page 5, you can see right at the bottom of page 5, it says what the appraisal amount is. So this is what an appraisal looks like. They go through and they pull comparable properties and they come up with a valuation. So I bought it for $60, then 6 months later, it was worth $240,000 after we gutted it and put $110,000 into the property or so. Then here's on the other side of the screen, a list of all the terms that Lima 1 was offering. So we closed on this in January. I don't know if you can see the date yet. It's 1/24/22 was when they sent me these terms. Closed shortly thereafter. But because the appraised amount was $240, they were willing to give me 75% of the appraised amount. So that's $180,000. They had some fees in there for the lender. And so I ended up walking away with $169,000. That was at 4.75%. Now, they're closer to 6% is what they're at the time of recording this. It's gone up. Obviously, all interest rates have gone up. So my total payment on this property on a 30-year fixed loan at 4.75% is just over $1,000 a month, and that includes principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. All right, so now I really want to get to the meat and potatoes of this whole thing and look at how it is going to perform over the long term, because that's really what's most important. So this is a vacation rental analyzer that I created. This is actually version 4 of it. And if you want a copy of this analyzer, you can just go to the link in the description below this video, and you can download your own version of this analyzer. You can download the template. Just click on File, then Make a Copy, and that will allow you to make your own copy of it. So let's just real quickly go through the numbers again. So just to recap the numbers again, $60,000 purchase price, closing costs. I put $850 in here to be conservative. It was actually $500. After repair values, $240,000. I used private money, so there was no conventional or hard money. It was private money, interest only at 10%. So I had to borrow $180,000 to do this deal, to have somebody else fund it completely. Property taxes are $1,168. Again, thanks to Indiana, the property taxes are super cheap. Annual insurance is $840. The repairs were $110, and furnishings are $10,000. And you can always go back and review any of this that you want to. All right, so this is how my projections are that it was going to perform. This is extremely conservative. As we're getting into the summer months, I realize we're actually going to outperform this. One of these units is a 2-bedroom, the other is a 1-bedroom. So that's why the projections are slightly different here. So in the high season, I'm projecting an average of $175 on one and $155 on the other. Low season, $80 a night on one and $75 on the other. So that's a combined total of $330 on one of the units, on both the units in the high season, and $155 on both units in the low season. I have an occupancy rate, because that's the other number that's really important to get. And you can look at comparable properties in your area that are on Airbnb and figure out a pretty close occupancy rate. But the occupancy rate in the high season for my area, everything is booked up. I was conservative at 95% because I think every single night in the high season is going to be booked. And then in the low season, it's mostly like long weekends. So it's going to be closer to 55% for an average of 75%. So it's 243 is the average nightly rate. 75% is the average occupancy rate. And so we're going to make a gross $72,000 per year on a property that I bought for $60,000. Obviously have more than that into it after the rehab. So that's $6,000 a month. And then we calculate in our cleaning costs, which we pay $90 per unit to clean this property. So in the high season, about 16 times per month between the two of them, 8 times per month in the low season. So that's an additional $13,000 of revenue that passes through to our cleaners. So total gross revenue is actually $85,912. So the monthly is going to be just over $7,000. And so the interest only payments are $1,500. Our insurance is $70 a month. Property tax is $97 a month. Cleaning cost is $1,095, and then here's some estimates on the other costs that come with a short-term rental. Because keep in mind, a short-term rental, you're going to be paying the utilities, you're going to be paying snow removal and lawn care. These are things that aren't typically paid by the landlord in a long-term rental. So our monthly expenses are actually $36.34 before it's refinanced. So this is just during the rehab process, basically, or before it's refinanced. So the deal calculations here aren't super accurate, because really what I'm interested in is the after refinance calculation. So if I was going to do something turnkey, then these would be my deal calculations going forward. But after I'm done with the rehab, now I'm refinancing it, and these are the refinance calculations. So the after repair value, again, it's pulled through $240,000. Lima 1 gave me $180,000. They had about $3,500 in closing costs. It was a 30-year fixed rate at 4.75. So this was the payment without the taxes and insurance, $938.97. The total money that I have left in the deal is $4,300. So all the other cash that I borrowed was pulled out, and I'm leaving $4,350 in this deal. So again, this is why buying something super cheap and doing this BRRRR method is so attractive and appealing, because you can basically pull out all your money, and now we've got almost no money in the deal, and we've got super high cash flow going forward. So now going forward, the total monthly income is still $71.59. The total monthly expenses are just under $3,000. So this property is going to net $4,206 on a monthly basis on average. Obviously, it'll be a lot higher than that in the high season, lower than that in the low season, but on a annualized basis, $4,206 on average, which is over $50,000 per year on a very affordable property that we have less than $200,000 into total, and we have $4,350 out of pocket into. So because it's only $4,350 out of pocket, that's a cash-on-cash return of 1,160%. There's not a whole lot of investments that I can put $4,350 into and get 1,160% return on my money on a regular basis on holding a secured asset. So hopefully this video has opened your eyes to what's possible with very, very affordable vacation rentals. This type of thing works really well in secondary or tertiary markets outside of the big major metropolitan areas where price points are really affordable, but the nightly rates are still pretty high. So I'm sitting in Michigan City, Indiana. I don't think this would ever be considered the mecca of vacation rentals, but it's an hour outside of Chicago, a few hours from Detroit, a few hours from Indianapolis. And it's a great getaway destination from these larger metropolitan areas for people who want to work outside of the city or visit Lake Michigan or all the other attractions in the area. Again, if you're interested in doing something similar, you can go to livingoffrentals.com/start, and I have a free masterclass there that will walk you through the first steps to getting started. Also, if you're interested in working with me personally on helping you find, buy, and set up a very similar property to this one, an affordable vacation rental, you can book a call on my calendar. There's a link right there. So don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe so that you can be notified when future videos come out. I release videos on this channel on a weekly basis, and I will see you in the next video.